I guess, I don't know who's here and who's not here, but why don't we go ahead and take roll and find out
Are
who's
you ready?
joining us on,
David says we're up.
let's
Curtis
see
gonna join on team?
who's,
Oh, is Curtis here?
Not yet,
Hey,
soon, but we can start without him.
all right, okay, let's do it then.
Name and apartment.
Let's start on our side.
got a buzz.
You got a sign-in sheet going around?
Yeah, we'll get-
Perfect.
Buzz good.
So, Lorraine, do you want to start? Introduction.
Hi, I'm Lorraine Hudson. I, payroll department clerk court.
Kristen Hewell, County Attorney's Office.
I'm Mike Batimer with Alan Norton and Blue.
Janice Gilly, Escambia County.
Janice Gill, Human Resources, Gaming County.
Tanya Ellis, ECAT.
Wesley Hall, Escambia County.
Stephanie 3, ECAT.
Mike Laurie, 1395.
Tim Stan, 1395.
Elaine Wiggins, ECAT.
And I don't know who's on, maybe David could tell us who's on,
Oh, it says Mark Floyd and Nikki
Nikki.
Powell.
all right, great, well, welcome, everybody. Mike, is there something preliminary that you want to go to, or do you want us to jump in?
Well, first, Curtis should be here shortly, but we can start, he'll be here shortly. His flight landed, I think, from Atlanta. It's supposed to land, it probably already landed. He's getting a rental car and he's driving over here, so
Okay.
he'll come join us here shortly.
All right, I think we want to start with this.
Yes, sir.
So this is, we're giving you the memorandum of agreement for what has been described as the retirement buyout program. And just a reminder that we need to have this executed if it's going to go forward by, Nikki says she can't hear, and I don't know if Mark
Yeah,
can
they
hear
can't,
too.
yeah, that's what he just said, they couldn't hear anything.
I think it's because I just turned it back on, so I just.
Let's see.
Could they hear us earlier before we turned off the mic?
Yes.
Yeah, Mike said, make sure I'm on.
Okay.
The mics are on now.
So my mic's green, but that mic, I don't know if that mic's live.
Mic.
Squirrel,
Oh, I can hear fine.
squirrel.
She may need to accept the notice of
Correct.
recording.
Oh, we need to say this. This is recording too.
I'm doing
This,
good.
this recording?
Yes.
I'm fine, how you
Usually it
doing?
says it's.
Doing good.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got the dot up there, so it's recording.
Okay. I heard David earlier when he spoke
Has this
directly
been
into the
recording
mic, but
for
only
1
hearing
hour?
mumbling now.
Has it been recording for 1 hour?
One more time, sorry.
Oh, has it been recording for 1 hour?
No, I think, I've had it on, so it's not gonna go anywhere anyway, this is, so.
Okay. All right, and Debbie, it looks like Debbie Bowers has joined.
Nikki says she hears us mumbling.
Well, we have
That's-
mask on.
That's me. She's not the first person to accuse me of a mumble.
Mark says he can hear. Debbie, can you hear us if you can?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Okay.
Let's just stop that real quick. She should be able to hear you now, right?
All right, so,
Nikki, can you hear? Because everybody else can.
Might be doing payroll too.
all right, so, let me anticipate that you would like to wait till Curtis gets here before you respond to the memorandum. Mike?
I'm sorry, I was reading something, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
It's okay. Would I be correct in saying that you would like to wait until Curtis gets here before you respond to the memorandum?
Yeah, I do have one question.
Okay.
And this is maybe directed more to Jenna, and maybe Tanya. Jerry Stallworth has been asking a question to try to speak with John Weber.
About the retirement retirement.
about the retirement for health insurance, under the language under the labor agreement tied to also the county and all that. We've had a little frustration there and to get a response from him.
I actually instructed him not to respond to y'all because we were looking through some stuff.
Okay.
And so I told him we would be meeting today.
Okay.
So that's on me, not him.
Okay,
Because, yeah, we did look into it, because per the CBA, it put the cost in there, which was, I think $908 that it would pay.
right,
But ours isn't that high. Ours comes out to like $732, so we wouldn't give more.
Correct.
Than what our highest was.
Correct,
And
okay.
it would be her decision because from the time, he doesn't meet the time requirement.
right. And that was one of the questions that we had was, would they waive that time period? So, which is normally 1 year.
You're fine.
So we were, that's something that Mr. Stallworth,
Stallworth wants.
Tanya would be asking you to do. Okay? That's kind of a big decision. That's part of his decision to take the buyout or not. Okay?
Is he working today? Is he on shift today?
Yes, ma'am, he is. Mhm.
Okay, so we need to talk about that at our break and get.
Yeah.
and-
Yeah.
Yeah, he's, I think he's actually planning to, this afternoon, whatever time he gets off, he's planning to come over here, so. So we'll review this memorandum of understanding regarding the buyout, but I think I kind of recognize it.
The same one.
It's the same one, right? Yeah, so I think that won't be an issue. It's just, I just want to get the clarification from Mr. Stallworth.
About the, whether or not he's.
Right.
And that's what we've done for other folks who've retired from ECAT since they've brought on board, is we've waived the year requirement.
Yes,
And
they ha-
paid what the amount was that we actually have, not what's in the contract.
That is correct.
Yep.
I'm not disputing that.
Yeah. So long short of it, I don't see any reason why we would do anything different with Mr. Stallworth.
Okay, very good.
But I do see how he would want an assurance.
Correct.
So we need to make sure.
Yeah,
we give him
I think he's 62 years old.
No, we did up a little thing that shows like what what would be paid.
Right.
Okay, so we're going to move on. We're going to go through the process of this. The next thing that we'd like to bring to your attention is
This is the.
Yeah.
some revisions to Article 17 of bereavement.
Okay.
The highlighted section is the new language, and what we've done is we've gone from immediate family to extended family. We've added some family member descriptors, which I think is something that we had discussed in the past and may have been not in agreement. And maybe with this change, we can get bereavement off the table.
Okay, we'll review that. I think that, to be honest with you, the last line is the only thing on the first paragraph is what's catching our attention.
Yeah.
So that would be where we'll discuss it, but I think that is the area of concern, and I think we expressed that to you before, so. Do you have any other counter proposals, Mike?
Yeah, we do.
Okay.
That's just, so that's that.
Yeah, it looks like we're close on that, though.
Yep, I think so too.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. See you, Mayor.
What's that? No, I'm fine with that. I'm fine.
So, so,
Can I ask a question?
yeah, please.
At some point, do you have these electronically too, all these proposals?
Yes.
At some point, maybe after you get them, we can forward them to Mr. Floyd. I'd appreciate it.
We can do that.
Thank you.
So the only changes that, again, the changes that we made from, as our counter is reflected in a highlighted language. We took away the word company because company is not
Correct.
correct. Took,
It's not correct.
Finish my sentence. Company is not correct, time and services would be it. And we struck the references to Article 51 in Section 4.1 and on the second page. But with, those are the only changes we have to that.
Okay, we'll look at that and respond back, because I think we do have a response to that.
Okay.
Okay?
Now, I am getting into an area, as I look down the table, and you know, I told Krista earlier today, if I live to be 120, I still won't figure out what this choose-up thing is. You know? It's like,
It's like making sausage.
it's one of the most complicated things. So I'm going to let my team members address these changes.
No problem.
Because they're pretty technical.
Operational stuff.
Yeah, operational stuff. We're going to start with Article 31, which is assignment of bus runs, schedule, and work assignment.
Okay?
And do you want to say anything about the changes that we made to Article 31?
Is there
Yeah, I can take.
copies on this? That's okay. Yeah, we can do.
So for Article 31, Mike,
Share with Curtis.
yeah, the highlighted section, Section 1, was previously in the extra board section. And in reality, the requirement of the 12 hours driving pertains to all operators. So just moving that from the extra board article into the actual article as far as assignment of runs for consistency, because it applies to every operator, not just extra board operators. Under Section 2, which is signed days off, which is just basically clarifying that the 10-hour run assignments will include assigned off days, which are not subject to choose up, which is basically the same thing, just kind of clean up some on the language there. Section 3 references the implementation of scheduling software. That is, RFP will be going out soon for that. So wanted to make sure that that was included in the document. And the other highlighted change, it looks like, was the removing the word general choose-up, because it's possible that the last choose-up may have been a special choose-up. Second page in the second to third paragraph up from the bottom.
Okay, where are you at? The
It's
second to
the
last?
second.
Are you talking about the one that starts operating?
Yes. And just referencing the reason why general being stricken is because that last choose-up may technically have been a special choose-up.
Right.
So just making it general enough that if the last choose-up ends up being a special choose-up, so basically the next choose-up that comes into
Okay.
in place. Any questions on this one?
No, we'll review it. Thank you.
All right, so now we have, along with that article, we have proposed language for Article 33. Again, the language that is highlighted is the new language.
So as you can see that in Section 3 was moved to Article 31. Under Section 2, it references as far as that first paragraph, kind of just wordsmithing. So I know on the last paragraph, the extra board operators will be assigned open work assignments on a rotational basis in seniority order. On the first page, the last highlighted paragraph, which was included in here. So I'm sure y'all may want to discuss that.
Yes.
Yeah.
The, on the second page, the first highlighted section basically is moved, has been moved up as far as the 10-hour regular assigned days. Under the new Section 3,
Yeah.
I'm on the second page. The Vacation Relief Board, which is basically very similar to the hold down.
Hold down. Y'all's very fun.
Yes, the hold down. So I'm sure y'all will probably want to discuss that one as well.
Is it only referring to, excuse me, I'm sorry. Hey. Yeah. All right. Here, excuse me, everybody, for one second, I've got to direct him here. Hold on.
Yeah, it's not easy. I don't think it shows up on GPS. You know,
Yeah,
Google
this one
Maps.
building is very strange.
Yeah.
I noticed that when I had ordered for Panera to deliver
Right.
here, and they couldn't find it anywhere on the
Right.
map.
Really?
Yes, and it even has the address and everything, and it just will
Put the
not-
Waffle House, I bet they pull it up, you give them the Waffle House address and just
That's
tell
a
them
good
to
idea.
pass the Waffle House in the building on the left.
So do y'all
Luckily,
put in
it happened to be somebody who
3363 West
grew
Park
up here,
Place?
and I was like, "Tell them it's
My
a Children's
GPS
Square
finds it.
parking lot."
I'm just telling you.
That's
Google Maps
strange,
is not
though.
Yeah,
easy.
it is weird.
Oh, I guess Google might not know
Because
where
the
it is.
address
Siri knows
is
where it
on
is.
Park Place, but it's, I mean, to me, it's Fairfield Drive.
It is. Basically, you're right, it is Fairfield Drive, somebody had to put their own spin on it.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
That's
I'm
what this
sure they were
street
gonna
is.
build something,
That's what- and that's what the
you know,
address is,
beautiful
but-
next door.
Hopefully.
At Park Place.
I wonder where they got Park Place from.
I don't know.
Makes it sound all fancy.
It does sound, I feel like we're
We're in
playing
New York
Monopoly. That's what I feel like every time I come here. Park Place. Everyone wants Park Place. Squirrel for sure.
Yeah, it's just the fan. Mine has started
Do
doing
what?
that like,
Definitely.
all the time, and then it gets.
Have the
dark.
UWF students done their presentation, or is that next week?
Mine
They
has
haven't been
never
out. They
turned
wanna
off,
talk to
basically. I mean,
people.
unless I'm in my car driving.
Didn't they give you all a
that's
survey?
on. So
Yeah.
even over the weekend, it's.
Survey was
it's
kinda
up and running,
redundant,
and
but it
does
was
start
all
to get
right.
a little-
They're learning.
A little hot.
They're working on it. Work in progress,
Like so many things.
moving
Sorry
forward.
about that, he's right down the street here. He just didn't, he was ready to turn up and head up Davis Highway. I said, don't do that.
Ooh. Wrong way.
All right.
All right, I think we were on Article
Well,
30.
can I ask a quick question on 33?
Yeah.
So you say Vacation Relief Board. Is it only vacation, or is it relief board of all available work? Or only vacation?
Breaking it out for the hold down, so vacation, FML, separately from the regular extra board.
Okay, I understand. Okay? Go ahead, Mike, I'm sorry.
No, do you, is there anything more that needs to be explained with regard to 33?
Well, I'll just tell you, and obviously 31 and 33 are operational stuff. We're going to have to read it and comprehend it. And,
Yeah, I was actually talking to my team.
oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Well, no, it just references the Vacation Relief Board and the extra board operators, the rotation, which is referenced in the Article 31.
Okay. All right, moving right along. This is Article 36. for your consideration.
Okay.
And I can speak to this one if you like. I mean.
Yeah, go ahead,
the only-
Kristen, please.
The primary change is just to include in a new certification requirement. And there was also a sentence added regarding the bidding procedure, which may be subject to change if any scheduling software is implemented, same as the other provision. But the primary change was just the additional certification requirement.
Okay, is that the 608 AC repairs?
608 was already included.
609.
609.
Wasn't.
Okay,
Also, on the second page, the fueler, utility/fueler,
Yeah.
tradition, previous before, I think they called it,
yeah, okay, that's kind of bounced around over the years.
yeah, it has,
Utility
sometimes
fueler,
it's been
okay.
utility, sometimes it's been fueler, but
Okay. We have on Article 39 for your consideration, maintenance, education, and training. There's not a lot of changes to this. I'll let you,
This was just, these changes were just to update the series that apparently are now listed by the National Institute for Automotive Service Excellence.
Do you have another one of these, or no?
you get it, Mike.
Oh, okay.
So
Oh, wait, we got. Awesome, thank you. Go ahead, Kristen, you were
it's
saying
just,
just
it's just,
updating.
yeah, just the highlighted portions on the front. Those are the only changes from the previous proposal that you
Okay.
provided.
All right,
So, okay, we have those articles for you. If I, what we believe is out and, waiting on a response, from the ATU, if I understand this correctly, is Article 2 probationary period. Article 45 or 47, depending upon whose contract, this is management rights. Article 48 or 50, depending on which one it is, duration of agreement. Article XX, which is general provisions. Article 4, discipline of employees.
No. Oh, well, yes. So the last, on the 9th of October, we did provide revised counters, and we're awaiting your response on the ones that were just mentioned, 2, 45, 48, and the new provision relating to general provisions.
And then there's
Hi, Curtis.
4, 5, 7, 8, 24, 28, 32. We've not received a count.
And 41. Yes.
Okay? So, hello Curtis, how are you? Welcome to the live, in-person negotiations. We owed 10, 13, 14, 15, 20, 25, 35, 37, which could also, might be 39. And we can talk about those today.
okay.
We're not, we would have to come up with some kind of counter because as they were.
What were those numbers again?
10, 13, 14, 15, 20, 25, 35, and uniforms and tools, which could be 37 or 39, depending on
Right,
how we're.
whatever the
numbering.
number is.
So, and we can talk, we can answer questions about those, but we cannot accept the counters that were provided to us on those articles on 6.5 and 6.25. So we can talk about them, and then I guess at some point the county is going to provide a counter offer to those lines.
Okay, let me just give Curtis a second here.
No, keep going.
Okay. So, go ahead and give him all colors?
No?
Not yet? Okay, yeah, he wants to hold on. Okay. So let me make sure I got these numbers right, what you just said, Mike.
Sure.
You're waiting on from us 45 or 47, 48 or 50, whatever the number is, right? And then the general provisions
Correct.
and 4? Is that correct? Was there,
4?
4,
Well,
5.
so
Four.
the 4 you just mentioned, 2, 45, 48, and the new provision, general provisions, we're awaiting a response to the counter we gave you the last time.
right,
We've not received any proposal from you in response to the counter that we gave several months ago for the following: 4, 5, 7, 8, 24, 28, 32, and 41.
okay?
So I would suggest that maybe we focus on the 6 articles that we gave you today that have changes to them from the last iteration. Or we could talk about the 4 articles that we gave to you on October 9th, or any subset of them. It's all good.
Okay, so I think what we need to do, just since Curtis just walked in, we need just a few minutes, not very long, just to give him a quick update of where we're at, so he can see these proposals here and see what we've done, and if we could just take a short caucus, and then we'll come back in. I probably need about, 15 to 20 minutes, 15 minutes,
Okay.
just so I can make sure he's up to speed.
Yeah, is the conference room
I think
available?
that, yeah, it was.
It is
while we go.
available?
Yeah, I'll go
Okay.
make sure, but it was while we go. It's available.
Okay. All right, so Curtis, should we? He says, okay. Go ahead, Curtis.
Okay, go ahead, Chris.
I just want to make sure I'm clear on the ones Mike read off to me, the ones that you said you still owe us. And I have 42 and 56 on mine that you didn't read off, that you still owe us to. Is it my understanding that you're just rejecting anything that we have counted on that or have given across the table on it, or are we to expect something on it? I just need to know from my notes.
Yeah, 10, 13, 14, 15, 20, 25, 35, and 37 or 39, depending on how it's numbered for whoever's purpose, which is uniforms and tools. All of those is, we're indicating that we're not able to accept the union's counters
Okay.
of 6.5 and 6.25. We're willing to discuss them today, but we're going to have to we're going to have to give you a counter on those.
Okay. And then 42 and 56, I have in my notes that y'all owed us something on as well.
Those should have been included. I apologize. Actually, no, yes, you're correct. 42 and 56, yes.
So it's still open and.
Yeah, 42 and 56. Kristen, what is 42 and 56?
42 is retirement, or 44, and 56 is miscellaneous.
Right.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, so we're prepared to give you our package. I just had to catch up and compare what you guys had and what we would,
Good,
what we were given. So I'm good now.
good.
Bless you. Bless you. See, it had to be 3.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I said 3, but good luck or bad luck.
Three's good.
Good luck.
His mask made me sneeze.
I don't like them.
Yeah, you can sit down.
Here's the tip. That's a terrible looking shirt. That gator's not fun. The Florida Gator shirt. Great shirt. I love these pink paper clips or clippy clips. Or did you not get one?
We're gonna go through them.
Okay.
I didn't write them down.
Okay.
Mike, do you want us to go through them, or do you want to just go ahead into a caucus and reply? It'd take a lot of time for us to go through our packet.
We gave you stuff today that I think is somewhat self-explanatory. I think you certainly have the capacity to understand what we put on paper.
Likewise, right?
And I think likewise, so I think we can go right into a caucus and see if there's anything that, among the articles we presented today, might get to an agreement. We'll go through this packet and see if there's anything we can reach agreement on here.
Okay, so I'd like to bring to your attention one, Article 26.
Okay.
Which is seniority. You gave us something on today.
Yeah.
We were prepared to accept your last offer on 26, however, you made some changes to it. So I would like to take the time just to let you know where we stand on that one real quick. We think we're close.
Okay, good.
Get it out here.
All right, good. So,
So on 26, 51, which is towards the bottom of the second page,
Yeah.
first page, bullet number 1, the policy here is something that we'd like to remain in, and that was in your original proposal, I believe, or your last proposal. That's the hang-up for us. Everything else we can agree to. We just,
Wait, I'm sorry, you said, you're talking about 26,
26,
and you said you would like to keep the reference to Article 51?
yes, rehire policy and guidelines for bargaining unit.
Well, at the last time we discussed this, you all had agreed that that article could be deleted, which was why I took it out.
No.
And the only other change was to correct the designation of what maintenance seniority consisted of because company
agree with everything else.
doesn't apply. But that was the reason that was the thing that was still pending from months ago, was whether or not you were going to agree to delete this reference. And I thought you communicated to us that you had decided that was acceptable.
No, what we said is we confirmed your yellow version was highlighted, what you were trying to say. We asked you what you were saying, and you were saying yes. You were switching, the original discussion was you were going to change it to the word county up in the first highlighted yellow, and then you explained to us, the highlighted of the rehire policy. We said we would discuss that on the bottom half of page 1 and then on page 2 as well. So if you look through your packet, you're going to see that we have a proposal on rehire.
Okay?
No, that's it for us.
okay.
Okay?
Well, it looks like you gave us a lot here. It's 10 o'clock. When do you want to get back together? 10:30?
That's fine with us.
Yeah, 10:30, it will give us a little time to go through the ones that were supposed, 31, 33 is kind of a focus of.
Yeah, and there's a bereavement one in there too that's, might be
10:30 is
close.
okay.
You want to tell them?
Yeah, we can.
So we can make this pretty short on the bereavement. Obviously, we're pleased to see you unstruck niece, nephew, uncle, aunt. We are concerned, and I mentioned it earlier, we're concerned with that last line on paragraph 1. We're not agreeing to that last line.
Yeah.
Okay, can you tell me why?
We can't
Because-
control who dies.
Well, that's true. I mean, I've had 3 or 4 family members die before in a year as well, and it's an awful situation, and I feel for anyone that has that happen. But at some point, we have to put a number on the number of days that you can take for leave. And this is consistent with what we have for county employees.
It's actually more generous.
Yeah, well, is it-
Well, yeah, we have 3, you're right.
County employees have to use their own leave.
right.
And so if somebody has, let's say, if somebody has 3 deaths in a year, and they go to their supervisor and say, can I use some leave to travel to a funeral?
Correct.
They can still do that.
Right.
This is just,
What leave?
Yeah, what leave? Is it sick leave? Because it says in there, it says sick leave cannot be used in conjunction.
Right.
So what leave? Are you using your annual leave?
It can't be used in conjunction with the bereavement, so if you exhaust your bereavement leave, you can still use your sick leave.
It doesn't say that here,
So we were trying to strike a compromise by expanding the definition of family to follow the status quo, but then at least put a cap on the number of days. 6 in a year seems very generous. And it's more than county employees are allowed. They use their sick leave for all bereavement.
But I just want to clarify what was just said. What was said was the county employees, though, can use their other leave to
They-
compromise for that, correct?
They have to use their sick leave
Sick
for
leave.
bereavement purposes.
And/or annual leave.
Well,
And the
sure,
county
yeah.
puts up to 3 days anyway, so even if you had more sick leave than that, it's only counted, you can only miss 3 consecutive days for a bereavement. But you have to use your own accrued leave.
And it doesn't count against you, correct?
Well,
It doesn't count against you, like, in terms of it's approved.
like an occurrence or
If it's
anything like
approved?
that.
How do you deny somebody bereavement if they want to use their sick time?
I mean, sometimes it's up to the department discretion. If you feel that someone's abusing it, like, I had someone's grandmother die 6 times in 1 year.
Well, see, that
Sorry.
doesn't make good sense to me because documentation.
This is for the county, that's not, we're putting
No,
that
but
in
I'm
there for
just saying
y'all.
that documentation, so how could somebody's you ain't got but 2 grandmothers in your lifetime, unless you're adopted, you may end up with an extra 1 or 2. So how 6 of them, if I'm doing documentation to you while I'm off and giving you the documentation, how do I get 6? How do you allow me 6?
I'm sorry. I'm confused now.
No, I'm just saying, how could it be 6 or just using 6?
Oh, you're talking about yeah, no, that's my point. Some people try to abuse the system. That's why you always give the little bit of discretionary from the management standpoint to prevent that from happening. Oh, they brought in 6, what are they called?
certificates of death, or,
No, the funeral, the
obituaries.
obituary, yeah.
Okay, I understand.
I understand, too.
So y'all would have bereavement leave. Our employees don't necessarily have bereavement leave. They
Sick
have
leave
sick
used.
leave that they use for bereavement. So this is a benefit that you have that other employees don't have. So that's one thing. So we would just like to have it be managed. A cap on the bereavement leave.
I understand. Thank you.
All right.
Was there any other questions?
Nope, we'll go into our caucus.
Keep in mind, I'm not a county employee, so I have to always ask.
Well, we have to keep the county employees and 5 different CBAs straight, too. It's hard for me.
That's why you making big bucks.
It's debatable.
So Mike, here's what we have. All right, so the buyout, we have a question on,
Okay.
but we pretty much know where we are. We just want to clarify something. So Mike wants to know about
Yeah. You said you were going to get back to us. When do you think you'll get back to us regarding the healthcare of?
So the decision to waive it would be the departments, but. So then,
Yes, Mr. Starworth. Okay, so
What'd she say?
she doesn't have a problem with waiving it.
Okay.
and I'll give you the cost real quick.
But what we've done with that clarification is we've signed it and the TAs and want to give it across the table to sign it and close it out.
So we only pay what is equal to what the county would pay on their highest plan. So that would be $710.80, which was different than what's represented in the contract. 'Cause it's the plan.
You sign both of them?
Yes, ma'am,
Okay.
give me one.
Yeah, we just need one.
Can I go ahead and take this one?
So
Yes, sir.
Okay,
when the
thank
5 people take it, they get all the money, right?
They only get their money.
All the money in the world.
Boy, yeah,
They have to stick with the formula.
I did get a smile out of you, though. I understood that, just for the record.
I know you did.
So that's gone, thank you, the buyout is done.
Thank
That's-
you.
It's taken a while, but that's good to
Yes,
get
sir.
behind us. 17, bereavement, we'd like to give a verbal, Mike?
Okay.
Counter. We had, before we left, said that we wanted to scratch that last sentence on the section 1. After further discussion, we understand the county's position, so what we want to counter with is 9 days, and accept that whole sentence, just changing it from 6 to 9. And the sick leave can be used in conjunction with bereavement. And then we understood it to however additional time can be needed. Article 8 is unpaid. So we understand if people don't have sick time available to them, then they automatically fall into Article 8. So that's the changes we have. We agree with everything else.
Okay.
26, just going over, we just wanted to unstrike that, so we just remain on that one. But we agree with everything else in the paragraph, in the proposal, or your counter.
On 26, is that seniority?
Yeah, that's just what we
Yep.
discussed before we went out. In Article 31, 33, and 36, we need more time because there was a lot of cross-outs. We didn't have time to kind of familiarize ourselves with how it impacted. So we need more time on that, Mike.
Okay.
But we wanted to come back with the stuff that we could real quick. And 39, we need some understanding too, because there's been some scratch outs of what we previously agreed to in our 2-year negotiation, I would say. So we thought we was pretty much okay, and then there's a lot of changes. So if you guys can just walk through, because there's a lot of scratch outs in here. We don't want to. So, yeah, misinterpreted, because, just to give an example, we agreed on paying the certifications. Now, all of a sudden, this document says we're not paying for certification. So we just want to understand,
39.
39, Tanya, I'm sorry. We just want to make sure we understand what you're saying to us before we don't want to reject something or say something that we don't understand fully. The intent.
Okay, does anybody want to walk them through 39?
I'm sorry, you stated that at a previous time, we had agreed to what?
So we agreed to this article back when we was meeting at Tanya's location, all of us. I do understand it was a previous administration, but we agreed to a lot of the language and we tweaked it and we got it to where we thought both sides was comfortable with it. And there's a lot of changes in this now, so we just want to understand the intent of the changes.
Well, is there a specific question that you had about the terms that are stated?
Yes, if I may, Curtis.
Yes, absolutely.
The agreement has been in the last contract that we were reimbursed for our ASE test, and now the county is not reimbursing us for anything on our ASE test, but you're requiring us to have them. What I see correct?
I believe that's true.
But I think is it being made a pre-job requirement versus a post-job requirement?
No, that's not how maintenance.
I
That
know
would
for
be-
the Tech 1, there's no ASC requirements. For the Tech 2 and up to the Master Tech, there is a requirement for ASC, correct?
Yes.
But the
But
techs
we-
get supplemental pay.
We've also been reimbursed up to 2 times for our ASE test. Once we do not accomplish them twice, then we shared the burden of paying for them, but the company reimbursed us twice for them. And I've also seen on the automotive side that you've had 9 certifications, and what's the 9th certification, natural gas?
It was my understanding from looking at the series that the 9th isn't necessarily required, but it is, I don't remember what the 9th certification
It's
was.
natural gas, and our facility is nowhere and above able to work on natural gas.
No, and I understand that, and I believe that was why it was broken out as 1 through 8 with an asterisk on 9, because it's not required for master status.
Correct. Okay. But you got 9 certifications underlying.
Only because they offer 9.
Okay. But you're only paying for 8.
They're not paying for it.
They're not offering the paper anyway.
Okay. Okay.
So would it, I don't.
So
would-
supplement-
Would it be, is the issue right now when dealing with the ASCs, is that, I mean, from a fair perspective, you know, what if it was just, if it was just one, we paid for one, and we would expect that someone to be able to pass on that first go instead of multiple times, and then take it multiple times, and then they reimburse.
So, I'm a maintenance guy, just so everybody on your team understands, right?
Yes, sir.
So I'm an electrician, and I do a lot of the maintenance. I used to be the maintenance vice president in my local. The only reason why the ATU is even entered into these type of ASC certifications is because we sat at the property. I mean, we helped develop the ASCs, all of them, the transit ones, just the transit ones, right? So that's the foundation for us, right? So when we go around now, we negotiate these contracts, it was because the employers wanted to have some type of qualifications and certifications, right? This ASC stuff was really in the automotive industry, correct? So now, we always accepted them with 2 things. One, it was one way to boost up the additional pay, which is the supplemental pay that she referred to earlier. However, it's a testing mechanism. We never tested in maintenance at all. We always just, the day you got hired, you tested in, and any other training, you provided to us, right? Most properties cannot provide that type of training. Some of them, transit properties are real small and can't provide that type of training. And so this was outsourced, so it wasn't a county scenario. So they utilized ASC training and testing to get things done, right? So where the county may be able to do their own training now, we will be open to discuss that. ASC's training is that people your mechanics don't go to school all year long, they fix buses, right? And so the things that are in the ASC are things they should be familiarized with, but they don't do it all the time, right? So, there's no expectation that, I remember or can do everything and not fail, right? There's a standard out there, right? So you don't take a 20-year guy and say, hey, look, you can't pass a test, but I'm putting out your buses every day and numbers, right? And able to do the work that you need me to do. Don't fire me because I can't pass a test that has nothing to do with specifically our property, right? So that's the theory behind it, right? So paying for the ASC Yeah, most of your people do it, but every once in a while, I can pass them 5 years in a row. That 6th year, I may have something going on, and my mind ain't focused right, and I don't lose my job for that. So that's the theory behind, and trying to answer what you're talking about. But these ASCs are a standard across the industry at a minimum, but not necessarily what our maintenance folks do on properties every day. This is not their day-to-day.
I think those are included in the job description.
Yes, being able to perform it is.
No, actually, the job description includes, if I recall correctly, having these specific certifications.
No, I agree with that. There's no.
Or the different classifications.
Yeah, there's no disagree with that. I'm just saying that that's not. So, the best way I can say it to you is in trades, as trades, mechanics are trades. We don't go to college, so you don't pass tests all the time, right? You have the ability to perform the work with the knowledge that you have and what's in front of you, and they don't always equal out, right? So a desk job, an accountant's job, goes to school to be an accountant, you go to work, those apply. They're the same. However, in trades, it's not the same. So testing doesn't always equal out to make you a good mechanic. And that's our argument all over the country. I can pass all of these ASCs, right? But generally, who's gonna pass them is the younger guys. The older guys that was working on carburetors years ago, they can get how to, the new technology. It's actually easier. However, that doesn't mean they have the ability that the ASC testing is requiring, right? So everybody doesn't test well. That's the reason why some people go into trades, right? I don't want to go to college. I don't want to do this, right? Just trying to give you an example of why it's important for us to have the employer pay. Most of the time, people pass them, right? It's an option that people won't lose their job. That's why we negotiate an option. That's really all it is. And I bet you if you go back and look at your files, most of your guys pass it on the first time. And I'm sure you have one or two that have, one or two certifications they struggle through. But I just wanted to give you an example, that's all.
Well, one of the things is, we have something similar, like we do have a tuition reimbursement program through the county, but what comes with that is the person has to sign a contract that they'll work for so many years after the county pays for or reimburses their education. And because if it's a benefit that inures to you personally, the county is not gonna put out the money for someone to take the test and gain a certification that can help them go be employed elsewhere. And without some kind of commitment to say, if you pay for this, we'll stay here for X amount of time.
In all due respect, that's apples and oranges when you talk about transit world to county employees. I understand what you're saying, but this isn't that. I'm already qualified to be a mechanic.
No, I see what you're saying, but if we paid for you to get an SAE and then 30 days later you decide to quit and then you go get somewhere else and get hired because they saw that you have that SAE, I'm just saying you're taking that benefit with you elsewhere that the county paid for.
The wrong way to look at it, but I understand what you're saying, right? I already have the ASC certifications already, right? So even if I don't pass this one and I want to go get a job somewhere else, this is a transit ASC. So I can't take this in a trucking industry ASC or the automotive ASC. This is transit. So I'd have to take it to another transit location. Most of them don't even require them. Some of them do. Smaller locations have these ASCs. This used to be a smaller location. You got 100. I wouldn't even say that. How many mechanics you got over there?
13.
13. You go to Atlanta, you got 700. The big difference. The smaller properties have transit ASCs. MARTA doesn't have it. Chicago doesn't have it. Washington doesn't have it. Well, Washington does, my mistake. But they have it on rail, not on bus. But my point to you is that it's the smaller properties that had training deficiencies that tried to find ways to incorporate having a training program and a standard. And this was the standard. That's all I'm trying to say. And I understand what you're saying, I'm not shooting it down, because tuition reimbursement is important.
Curtis, when you said most people pass it, is there a ratio of 90% pass?
I wouldn't have that.
I wouldn't say that, excuse me, Curtis, because I took 2 tests, Thursday, brakes and front end alignment. I passed my brake one and I failed my front end alignment, because you know how many times I do a front end alignment on a bus?
Hardly ever.
Never. We check the toe in and toe out. We do not check the camber, casper, radius in and radius out or anything like that. So I'm sorry.
But
Yes,
that's my
you
point.
can fail.
So just to clarify, like, the certifications, these are additional certifications outside of the 608 and 609, correct?
This is correct.
Okay, so they're not a requirement, we're not requiring you to have them?
To get your master.
To keep your master status and your Tech 3 status
You
and
have
your
to have all
Tech
of
2 status, yes, it is required.
To progress
No.
to the master tech, correct?
Yeah.
And that was language that management created in the past, so just so you understand that they had them take those tests to get a master.
That's the way the ASC transit certifications are scheduled and set up. And I just declined sitting on that because I didn't want to go in there travel all the time, but that's the theory behind it, but the reason why it's even in here is because the county may have a facility to train people and could afford a trainer, but when it was out to the private sector, they didn't have a good training program for 13 people.
So I noticed in paragraph 2, excuse me for.
No, you're fine.
Paragraph 2, you struck through the intend for mechanics and technicians to receive on-the-job training classes in preparation for these exams. Could you elaborate a little bit why you struck through that entire paragraph? In section 1, the second paragraph, the county and the union intend for all mechanics and technicians to receive on-the-job training and/or classes in preparation for exams. The county, so there's basically an on-the-job training preparation that's been, and you struck through it. So I was just curious, why did you strike through on-job training? And what's the purpose of striking through that?
So what I believe is, and Mike, if I'm wrong, I'm not trying to offend anybody across on the other side, is that you guys really don't understand the nature and the foundation of why this training is here and why it's worded like that. What Mike just said to you is the exact reason why we want our folks to have time to train. Like Jim said, he does brakes, he didn't have a problem with it. He had a problem with the other one because he needed time to review and study and go over the requirements of it. So it's setting people up to be successful, not setting them up to just go out and pass or fail. It's about setting people up for success. Success to a mechanic is totally different from success of administration type work. Totally
I don't think there was an intent to necessarily eliminate any on-the-job training that may occur. What was in the status quo language merely stated that the county and the union intend for all mechanics and technicians to receive on-the-job training and/or classes in preparation for exams. Intend. It doesn't state a requirement of any kind, and I don't know that that was the intent. Tanya and Rod may be able to speak to that, to disallow any on-the-job training that may occur already.
And intend means like, if I go past all my tests on the first go-around, I don't need additional time to be at work to kind of review and things like that. So the intend part is kind of if it's needed, then both sides will agree that Jim would have additional time to review time while he's at work to come up to speed to pass the test.
And if I could, Jim, please make sure I understand, because what I understand happens at ECAT is let's say a new mechanic shows up, when it says on-the-job training, that sometimes happens right there when you're working on a vehicle. You bring a new technician over and that's going to be taking that type of test, and you start to work with them, and someone that's already passed the test, that's working on whatever, is showing them, teaching them.
Of course. It's mostly on-the-job training, but you gotta understand, ASC is its own entity altogether. So when you take an ASC test, you're taking a test designed by ASC. So, and I'll be honest with you, when you take an ASC test, if you have 4 answers, you can rule out 2 of the answers right off the bat. I mean, 2 of the answers just does not make any sense whatsoever, but the other 2 do. So it's not the question of if the mechanic thinks it's what it should be, it's the question of what ASE thinks.
It's their standard, correct.
So you're not answering it from a mechanic standpoint, you're answering it from the individual that designed the test.
So where is the county requiring for the master tech? 'Cause I know that's what y'all are talking about.
Look in 36
Look in
Yeah, that's what I
36.
was looking at.
for the job descriptions.
The first one, master technician, it just says it must hold certifications in the 608 and 609.
Defined as a maintenance employee who holds a master's certification in ASE automobile and medium heavy-duty truck or transit, must hold certifications in 608 AC and 609 MVAC refrigerant management.
But it's not requiring all of them that are listed here.
No, it is requiring 2 of the certifications plus the 608 and 609.
Okay, that's what I was trying to clarify, because I thought you were saying that we were requiring all of them, and I was
No.
like,
We're
I
here
don't
for, we're
remember
here to
that.
help each other.
Oh, no, and then and the technician, the Tech 3 is, holds a master in ASE bus and 608 and 609.
Jim, I have a question. So on this section that was struck out, so I'm understanding this is specifically to ASC testing, and on-the-job training, not any other additional training, such as Cummins or any of that? And is that, I just want to make sure that I'm understanding. When you say on-the-job training,
And section 3, where you struck out?
no, section 1, that second paragraph.
She's back on 39.
Yeah, I know, I gotta get back on that.
Yeah, so
Yes,
Cummins, okay, go ahead.
I'm sorry, it's, yes, that was strictly on ASE.
So I guess the next to the last sentence, in the references, if an employee is off, that receives 2 hours of regular pay per test day, but if we're already reimbursing you for the test.
Correct,
Not
but,
be paying twice.
but, no, ma'am, what it was is, when you register for a test, it costs you both for 2 exams, and it costs a registration fee. And the company doesn't reimburse us as status quo right now until we show either we have passed or failed the test that we took them. The reason why there's 2 hours in there is because if somebody schedules their test times on their day off, and they're going on their day off, then they were reimbursed 2 hours for their time to go and take the test on their day off.
And reimburse the test as well.
Of course.
So is y'all's asked to only pay for the additional certifications that require to promote up internally all the way to the master tech, or any certification
Our
test?
ask is to leave it status quo the way it is.
Yeah.
Okay. So for
You
Article
ever heard of
39.
those, you ever heard of one of those things that ain't broke, don't fix it? Not that big of a cost neither. When you cost this out for.
Yeah, but I am still trying to clarify.
No, I got you, I'm just saying.
Is it any certifications you take, or only the ones that you are required to have for the job?
It should be the ones you require.
Okay, so only the ones.
Right, but now ASC isn't the only thing that you require. As Tanya said, if you got Cummins training coming, then you're required to, they give some type of test. They don't give like a full test. But they give you a familiarization of what we just went over type of test. So anything that's required to keep your job. But that's something that I think Cummins doesn't require any time off. They come to
No,
the
they come to
facility,
the facility.
so everything is there, so there's no actual cost. It's built into the contract that you have with Cummins. And then for us, we just do it while we're at work. So ASC is a little different because it's off the job.
That makes sense.
So I guess Tech 1 wouldn't require any of the other certifications other than the 608 or 609. So presumably, if the county covered 608 and 609 and an individual didn't progress beyond that, then it wouldn't require anything further.
I believe you're right. I hadn't looked at
Okay.
it,
Yeah.
but I believe you're right.
Okay.
So that's why I was clarifying, the current language does say that the company will reimburse the cost of exams for up to 2 times for the same exam for the life of this contract. But I wasn't seeing where it was stating only for those that are required for the job. Just like explicitly stating that versus if you just go get additional certifications.
Well,
Well,
the language was drafted by the job description. So, I mean, the intent of it is only by what you're doing in the job. And the only way to progress up is to take certain tests. So the intent was never to put specific wording in it because what we were referring to is everything that kind of, this is the foundation and you move up kind of.
So could we just add a stipulation for the certifications required to progress?
That's what your counter is. We'd definitely consider it. I mean, there's no way we wouldn't consider it. And it would be better than scratching it out in our opinion, just so you know.
and Curtis, if I may,
Of course.
on Article 36, Section 2, on page 2, it says failure to maintain certification of employees' job classification may result in immediate reassignment or termination. Really?
Wait, I'm sorry, number 4.
Yeah.
So if it's a required certification, it's a requirement of the job. So even if it's a requirement of the job,
Well, currently, right now, and this is why I'm having so much problem with some of the strikes that y'all have done, is everybody can have a bad day, and right now, you have 2 test cycles to keep, to keep, say if I needed the one I failed yesterday, I have 2 more test cycles until I'm dropped back down out of my classification. If I fail to pass it in the next 2 cycles, then shame on me. You know what I mean? But just failing it one time and then you're gonna take pay out of an individual's pocket or terminate them.
The
are
termination,
you talking about
the termination part is extremely hard for us.
Well, it doesn't, I don't
You
think
should
it,
only be knocked down
Yeah.
in classification. You shouldn't be terminated from employment. All right, so that's really hard for us.
I think the intent is was like failure to, like if you never could get there, so you got to a master tech status and then you kept failing them over and over and you couldn't maintain what was there.
Yeah, but you can, so if I can't maintain the master now, all of a sudden, for whatever reason, I only get bumped down in classification, which bumps my classification and my pay down.
Tech 3 or Tech 2.
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't terminate.
So are you proposing to say failure to maintain the required certifications for the employee's assigned job classification may result in reassignment and just take out the term?
No, we wanted to stay the same, the way it
Yeah, I
was,
mean,
status
I
quo.
mean, it's too much to go through, right?
If you want to say that, then
He said counter, then.
then we'll counter it and we'll take it.
The only required certifications are the 608 and 609.
For which, that's the,
But that's for all of jobs. That's the only requirement.
Yeah, so, yeah, classification versus assignment that's what it is. So that is a verbiage thing, so the job classification, all of you are classified as maintenance technicians in terms of your classification, but your position or your assignment is series that is built in, the Tech 1, 2, 3, Master Tech.
And
So
we're
that's
making-
what it's saying, if, for the classification purposes, the 608 and 609 are required for all of them, so if you ever don't have that, you have nowhere else to go. Is that, you see
Yeah,
what
but we're making this harder than what it should be. It hasn't been a problem, so
Yeah.
I don't see why and I understand the technicality if it was a problem. I'm not trying to be funny. And for you, a HR person, so I totally get it. Don't think I don't, I'm not dismissing that. But if it was a problem, Mike, we would really understand why we need to change. It's kind of,
I think we
Well-
understand your position. Tanya, does anything you want to
Not
say?
sure what you're
It kind
trying
of
to.
is a problem for the 608 and 609 because until Mr. Cleary can jump in as far as referencing that, because the requirements for EPA and everything else, that we weren't even aware, I believe until Mr. Pittman, that there was a difference, and that we didn't have that language in there, that, I mean, so for the 608 and 609, because if you're working on, you know, anything.
refrigerant, anything you have to is certified by the
And we
state.
weren't even aware until we started looking into it.
You could be in violation.
Yes.
Correct.
Well,
So
the
for me,
federal
that's
government-
where my concern is on those specific ones, as far as the required, those are the required.
You're not gonna get a pushback from us, Tanya. No.
Yeah, but what her point about it, saying it's not a problem, I do think there is one technician who does not have that certification.
Why? I'll ask Jim when we go in caucus, don't answer.
Or both of them.
But thank you for letting me
Might
know.
have one, not the other.
Thank you for letting me know.
So if I'm trying to digest this, so there's two qualifications that are required for the job, and obviously, we all agree that if there's a qualification, certification required for the job, they have to have it or they're not able to do the job.
Correct, you don't.
But then there are additional certifications that allow a person to receive additional compensation and pay additives as they go through that process. And if somebody achieves that and they somehow fail it, what I hear you saying, Curtis, is that maybe they should lose the pay additives,
Yeah.
or maybe they should lose the designation, but they shouldn't lose their job,
Correct, yes, ma'am.
because they didn't have to have the designation or certification in the first place.
Yes, it's an
And that's
incentive.
actually, that is the intent of this. That's
an-
what I was trying to say, the
It's an
difference.
incentive
between
both ways.
Yeah.
For the employer, you get more work that you can get out of an employee that has these, because they should have the ability to do it. And for me, it's an incentive to get a little bit more on my check.
Yeah, I
So
think,
it's a
I
win-win.
think we're all, okay, we might be talking past each other, but I think we
I agree with what you
understand-
said.
And I understand your position. Okay, good. Is there anything else that you had that you wanted to respond to? Because we have a couple things that we could respond to.
No, that's all. We just
Okay.
needed more time on the rest of it.
I'll say much of what you kind of provided to us this morning is a lot of contract language, and we're going to have to go back and do a comparison to what we have put on the table during the course of these negotiations, to see where the changes are. So that's going to take some time, but there are a couple of things here that we thought that we could just, I'm going to verbally address, and I think we're pretty close. So I'm going to start with 44 bulletin boards. Now, we had language on bulletin boards that was, I don't know, a long paragraph. That had a number of conditions, including that before anything could be put on a bulletin board, it had to be submitted in advance to management. We're willing to sort of modify our language and your language to try to get to an agreement. So this is how it would read. I'm reading your language. The union shall have the right to maintain 3 4x5 bulletin boards on the county property at Escambia County Area Transit. Now, you say to be under the union's sole control, but actually, I think that's a kind of broad statement, because I'll get to what we're talking about in a second, but I'm willing to say under the union's exclusive use. So we'll recognize that this bulletin board is for the ATU and not for other purposes. I'm okay with the boards will be glass front with lock and key. Then you say any items posted by the union will be initialed by a union official. I'm okay with that. But then we have to have some kind of enforcement mechanism of all of this. So I would add, the county reserves the right to remove any item not signed by a union official or is offensive. Because if somebody put up something that's offensive in the workplace, we have to take it down because we have a legal obligation to police our workplace so that there's not offensive material.
Can you repeat that one more time, please?
Yeah, sure.
The last sentence.
Yeah. The county reserves the right to remove any item not signed by a union official or is offensive. We, we certainly could type these things up and send them to you in a legislative format at some point. I don't know what our capability is here today. So then I'm going to go to the next article that you gave us this morning, which is Article 45 on management. So,
What article was that? I'm sorry.
that was
The next one,
44, and now I'm moving to 45.
Okay, thank you.
In 45, you gave us an article today, there's two sections to it. Section 1, we're okay with. Section 2, we're going to suggest two changes. We're okay with the first sentence, but one thing that we've learned from this pandemic is that sometimes we have to create a rule or regulation, maybe it's a safety matter, and we have to move quickly on it because the circumstances require some kind of immediate response. So we would suggest reducing your 10 business days prior to the effective date to 3 business days prior to the effective date. That would be in section 2.
So can I intervene for 1 second?
Yes.
Under normal scenarios, can we leave 10 and can we create another sentence that addresses what you said, which would mean under issues
Well, where
that-
circumstances require
Yeah, something.
the 3-day period. I'll talk it over with my team, but that's
think
something we
that's-
could certainly explore. And then, so the union reserve, and I've always had a problem with the sentence, the union reserves the right to grieve the implementation of a new rule. Well, you have to grieve something, you have to assert that something is violating the contract, right? That's the definition of a grievance.
I don't know if maybe I want to make sure I'm clear. So, and PERC may be different, I'm not the
Yeah.
PERKer, but if it's not in the contract and it's still a working condition, I still should have the right to grieve it.
Now, in PERC, the grievance is a violation of the contract.
Only.
That's what the statute says. There shall be a grievance process for the interpretation and application of the contract.
Right, but doesn't the contract say, and it may not, that's why I'm asking, that we should have the right to grieve over, and I'll look in it.
Yeah.
Over any working conditions?
Now, the grievance process that we have both been giving back and forth to one another is a violation of this contract, a term of this contract, or B, discipline. And that's all that says.
Okay.
So, so PERC says, para says, each public employer and bargaining agent shall negotiate a grievance procedure to be used for the settlement of disputes between employer and employee or group of employees involving the interpretation or application of a collective bargaining agreement. And that's 447401. So what we would add to the last sentence, we'd leave your language in there, but build back in the recognition that a grievance has to be tied to a violation of the contract. So it would be, the union reserves the right to grieve the implementation of a new rule that is in conflict with this agreement.
We understand.
Okay? The next thing I would direct your attention to is Article 49 which is the rehire policy. And from what I understand from this language is that if a person in the bargaining unit leaves in good standing, and then the county rehires that person to the, ECAT, within 1 year, they'll have an adjusted seniority date for the period of the layoff or resignation, retirement upon their reinstatement. I think we're okay with that.
So that's a TA?
I think we can TA that, yeah. The next thing I'm going to take your attention to is 48. Duration of the agreement, ratification plus 3 years, 60 days notice before the expiration date of cancellation, you strike. Section 2, we can live with that. Section 3 is, you offer to meet and confer if you're going to negotiate a new contract. If no agreement shall have been reached by the parties within 60 days after such notice, they start the impasse resolution process. As we all know, under Florida law, even though you initiate the impasse process, you still have an obligation to bargain if the other side asks for it. So bargaining would continue, but the process would be initiated after 60 days. We can live with all that.
So that's a TA?
I think that's a TA, yeah. The next thing that I would take your attention to is what you gave us today, which is a new article called General Provisions.
Thank you, Mike. We're with you, Mike.
Okay. Is governing law governed by and construed in accordance with the laws of Florida. We're okay with that. The waiver language, we're okay with that. This agreement should constitute the only agreement between the parties, and all prior oral or written are canceled. We're okay with that. Severability, if something's found invalid, then the rest of the contract stays in place. We're okay with that. Successor clause, we're okay with that. Totality of the agreement. This constitutes the entire and sole agreement between the parties. We're okay with that. So with the new general provisions, I think we have a TA.
Okay, thank you.
So, I mean, we've, what's that? No, we didn't do that. We didn't talk about that. We didn't get to it.
I don't know why I check marked that. Lose my mind. Correct.
I don't know if it's, I don't know if it's good or bad.
I don't know why I marked it. I don't think we talked about it either.
Okay.
I'm losing my mind.
You know, the rest of the stuff that you gave us today, I don't think we're gonna have a response today.
Okay.
It's just too much, you know? It's too dense, and we have been going back and forth through several iterations. And so we just need to take a time with these. Although, you know, who knows? Once we get an opportunity to drill down with them, we may not have a lot of issues. I just can't tell. It's a lot of paper and a lot of
It
words.
is. And likewise for us, we needed for those 3 articles to kind of go over and compare what it's saying, so.
Sure.
We understand.
Yeah.
And so the only other one that we thought was but y'all were gonna come back with us, because if I'm saying it right, I remember that time was of an issue, was wages. during our last session?
Well,
And by the way, the ones that you are still contemplating or haven't had, we'd be welcome to walk through and explain them to as well.
I think we've seen most of this language before, so, and you've walked through it before, we just have to see the zen of what we put on the table, what you put on the table, and see where we're still apart. I don't think we have any questions about what you put on the table.
no, other than Lorraine had a question about union dues.
Yeah.
Yeah, on union dues, I thought we had agreed to do that on the last payday of the month and to pay you within 5 days of the last payday of the month.
Which was
That's
in
why
our
we're doing it now.
previous proposal. We had incorporated the union dues provision into Article 7 in our previous proposal.
7? So, by the way, Mike, when he mentioned wages, the last time when we met, you said to us that you would come back on November 20th on wages.
All right,
We don't have anything new or different to offer in the way of the wage provision, other than what we previously offered.
Now, I know the time of the essence thing was for the retirement buyout.
and we understand wages is always important, but
And this is what we have offered.
We gave you okay.
I know you gave us, yeah.
we have no
We'd
change in our
already-
position.
Yeah, we'd already presented
Since
it
June,
to the
we've given
board.
you something.
Yeah.
Right.
Yes,
Well, our
and the board
position
rejected
is.
It hasn't changed.
It hasn't changed. So that is our position.
I just need to understand what that position is, because I'm not sure what that is.
I can find the date of the
No, I know
last
I know
proposal,
the
then that
last
is our
proposal.
position.
Yeah, but during the last time, you said you was gonna get back to us. So what we're saying is, what Mike is saying is that he needs to understand what that position is.
Yeah.
We thought y'all were gonna go back, run some numbers, look at it, and
you
redefine
want
it,
us-
give us a response. So y'all haven't really given us a response from our wage proposal. So
Well,
we
yeah,
don't
no,
know what that position
Yeah,
is.
we have not been provided any authorization to give any wage increase offer other than what we had on the table before.
Right.
That, because of the circumstances that the county finds itself in, which is unlike, not unlike other public employers in Florida, there's not resources for additional wage increases.
So our last counter to you on the wages, though, we started to address some of your concerns in your proposal, but we gave some alternatives to it, addressing it. We still don't understand why you're saying that's your last proposal, and you've never directly given us a reasoning of why that's your proposal, and when we ask questions, specifically, we don't get answers, so it's a little confusing to understand.
Could you reiterate
Because-
the questions?
So, okay, well, for example, we have a wage progression, right? We have a wage progression we're living under forever.
Yes, that was reflected in the proposal we gave on June 5th, titled Wage Rates, Article 35. So, yes, we're aware of that.
And we asked the questions, so, okay. So she's not going to answer, I can tell.
No, she
Okay.
will.
If I am able to, what is your question?
So, let me go to my proposal on 35. And we'll tell you, we'll do this, just to understand, because obviously this is a very important issue to the workforce. So we gave you a proposal, actually, I emailed it to Ms. Still on August 17th. We then physically gave it to you on October 9th. And we gave you various options to try to consider, which was, Section 1 and Section 2, and to try to address our concerns of what we consider would circumvent the progression, which would be if we took your offer that you had, the one offer you've given us, and we take it and we accept it. Once we sign for it, existing employees would get an increase of 3%. Then the question came back, some questions came back that are concerns to us. What happens to new hires that come in? What rate do they come in? Do they come in at the new rate? Is there a 3% on top of the 1475, which is there's a probationary period, I'm talking once they come out of probationary period, 1475, is there 3% on top of that? Or do they now come in at 1475, but anyone else that's been here 3 months, who's currently at 1475, would get an additional 3% above that? And so there, now we just created another layer to the progression. Or the other question is, if there's an employee that's working their way currently through the progression, and you give them a 3%, right? How do they get to the top rate? And I heard last time Ms. Stills said that they would not go to the new top rate of 2025. They would get a 3% on, for instance, 1675, which is, what is that, 80% of top rate? And then when they would progress to the next level after that, which would be 1966, not the top rate of, the new top rate of 2025. We're trying to understand what you're trying, the intent. There's a progression that seems to be ignored here.
And the other ATU properties are not having a problem with the counties or cities that they, municipalities that they work for. So we're just trying to
Do
understand.
they have wage progressions?
Yes.
Just curious.
Yes. So we're just trying to understand that's important to us. But
Yeah, we fully appreciate the issue and what you have explained to us as something that has happened in the past, where increases have also increased minimum wages, but the authorization that we have does not reflect that in this offer. And we've gone back, and I think we've got a confirmation of that, right, Kristen?
Yes, I believe so.
So-
And so this is these are the wage rates reflected in our previous offer. I don't believe there is any suggestion of an additional 3% at this time. So that's really all I can tell you.
Yeah, so.
And Ms. Gilly may have more to offer when she returns.
Yeah.
And my memory serves me correctly. You guys talked about being able to present it to the board, and that the board wasn't meeting until a certain time, so it pushed it out a little bit because there was no scheduled board meeting. So that's what we're referring to, and that's why we were looking for some feedback.
Presenting what to the board?
Having a discussion with the
Executive
board, an executive session about the wages.
We had already presented the Article 35, what Mike had presented, we had already presented that to the board at that time.
Right, but after our last session, at our last session.
Yeah, maybe
said that
Janice
you
has
guys go
has a
back
different
and have a
insight into.
conversation
Yeah, I was gonna say,
about
like-
our proposal.
We'll see what Jan.
Yeah.
No, so I'm just trying to clarify that.
I mean, we did have an executive session. I'm not able to really disclose because it's confidential what was said in the executive session. But we have an executive session in preparation for these negotiations.
And this union was discussed. But
I understand, but, so that's why we're trying to ask for clarification. We understand that what your proposal said, but it was stated to us that you guys
Yeah.
have a discussion to get back with.
Yeah, yeah. Without disclosing what is discussed within an executive session, our position on wages is not amended.
No, it's as reflected in the proposal from June 5th.
Okay.
Which is just 3% for existing employees only.
No, actually, it's as the wages are stated here. I don't know that there isn't a 3% on the table. I'm not sure where you're coming from there.
So you're saying status quo? What, June 5th, you said, right?
Yes? These are the current wage rates, is that correct?
Yeah, so you're saying the proposal from the county is status quo wages. Is that correct?
Are these the current wages?
The
Yes.
one, yes, the
Yes.
one that she's,
Yes.
you talking about this particular one?
So, okay, so no wage increase. They're providing us with 3%.
We can, when Ms. Gilly comes back, she can address that
The
as well.
3% was on the table for that year, that
For last fiscal year.
Yeah.
It's a new
This
fiscal
fiscal
year.
year's, yeah, that's over now.
And the board has not authorized that this year. So that may answer the question right there. If,
Yeah, it basically says that the 3% for last year for ECAT workers is off the table and they lost out.
Correct,
That's what I heard.
because it was never approved by the union.
again, Ms. Gilly may have more to discuss with you when she comes back. She just had to step out for a phone conference.
We understand.
Okay. So we then want to, what's next?
I don't know, Mike was saying something, I interrupted him.
No, you weren't. You weren't interrupting me.
No, but you were saying that it would take you some time to get back to us.
On those articles that you provided us, except for the 5 that was able to address today.
Well, let us take a quick caucus because you gave us some verbiage to consider.
Yeah, okay.
And like you said, let's work on what we can.
Yeah, let's do it.
So give us, it's 11:30, we'll come back right at 12.
Okay, sounds good.
And I go, you ready? All right, he said we're back on.
I said, nice mask for a two-win team. He goes, yeah, but we have how many championships
Yeah,
versus none
we
for the
have
Vikings?
history. We have history.
All right.
So, I'm gonna start out with, you don't mind, Mike, and this is a counter,
Okay.
and we had to change our our bereavement, so 17,
Okay,
we don't think it said what we really wanted it to say, so.
okay,
We're gonna leave your second paragraph just the way it reads.
okay,
Sick leave cannot be used in conjunction with bereavement leave.
okay,
We believe that we'd like to add this to the last sentence.
okay.
In the event an employee
Give
has,
him a chance to wait. Hold
okay,
on. You want to write this down?
Yeah, sorry.
Let's see. You're saying instead of the however,
no, we're saying we want to leave the from 6 days to 9 days.
Yeah,
We want to leave your language alone in the second paragraph that talks about sick leave cannot be used in conjunction with
So you
bereavement
don't
leave.
want it used?
No.
No, we want to leave your language the way it is.
Yeah, yeah.
We want to add a sentence that reflects what we really wanted to say.
okay, go ahead.
And it, I can't even read my own handwriting, but in an event an employee has a need for additional bereavement leave, what's that other one?
Beyond
Such
9
9 days, the employee shall be required to utilize such leave,
Sick leave.
sick leave, excuse me, for any such additional bereavement leave. So it said, basically what that means, if I need anything prior to the 9 days, I would be able to use my sick leave on the 4th time, basically.
I get it.
And we don't think that the way we came back with it reflected that.
I understand.
Okay. So that's that. Then on 26, Mike, we believe is a TA because you guys, TA'd the rehire policy. So we think that's a TA,
Yep,
that y'all wouldn't mind unstriking it. But
got it.
got it meaning, okay, we can unstrike that and keep, and sign off on the TA?
Yeah, but I guess the reference to 51 would be a reference to the new number, right?
Yeah.
40.
Whatever, what's
Change
the-
that.
Yes.
Whatever the new.
54?
Yeah,
I'll just draft a fresh copy and bring it the next time.
Okay, thank you.
yeah, we got that.
Then 44. Let me get to my 44.
Right here?
So 44. Bulletin boards, we would like to TA. We're okay with y'all typing up,
Okay,
With your
with your
additional
language, yeah, that said
Okay.
that reserves the right to remove the items unless signed by the local.
got it?
So we're okay with that. 45, we'd like to make a little counter on section 2.
Okay,
Of course, we'd like to have that language that talks about 3 days if it's an emergency, and we'd like to have it say something about business days. We'll accept your language at the last sentence, but we want to add on to it, if you don't mind.
okay,
Nothing herein shall be construed as a waiver of the right to bargain. We think that's pretty reasonable.
I'll have to talk it over with my team.
Okay. And then, the other stuff we had already done, already TA'd, so I think that we're making some progress today.
That would be, I guess, 48 in the new article?
Yes.
I'm sorry, what was that about?
48 in the new article.
And 49.
Also-
Yeah, I was just saying, no.
48, 49, and 51, or whatever the new article is, yeah.
So you're agreeing to general provisions?
Yeah, general provisions, which will be 50 probably. Rehire policy, which is 49.
Yes.
And 48, which is
Duration.
duration.
And then
Okay.
bulletin, got
then-
changed.
Then bulletin boards,
Good. So it looks to me like we got 6, maybe 7 knocked out.
yes.
Good.
And with a possibility of 2 or 3 extra, depending on what kind of verbiage y'all wanna,
Yeah.
come back with.
Okay.
Yeah. So you wanna you mind if we take a lunch break?
Give us time to look at some stuff too.
I hadn't had anything to eat.
Yeah, we need to eat too.
Is 1 hour
I'm
good?
on Curtis and I are on Eastern Standard Time. We have Eastern Standard Time stomachs, not Central Standard Time
Got
stomachs.
that right.
They're asking if they,
How long do you want to take?
Come back at 1:30?
We have time.
And hopefully that we're, in that time, though, we'll be able to exchange some more, and maybe TA, maybe 1 or 2 more.
I'll give you an opportunity to maybe look at a few as well.
Okay. Sure, 1:30. We'll see you here.
And if y'all want to go earlier, we'll probably just be back in the room by 1 o'clock, but.
All right. We're probably just going to send out for something quick, so we'll be around.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
thank you.
Thank you.
Bereavement. We would leave the use of bereavement leave as opposed to the use of sick leave like the other county employees are required to do. We would leave the use of bereavement leave at 6 days, but we would add kind of your language in the second paragraph of section 1 that would allow people to use sick leave if they have a third bereavement or any additional bereavement. So it would read something like, sick leave cannot be used in conjunction with the use of bereavement leave. In the event an employee who uses the 6 days of bereavement allowed by section 1 may seek sick leave for any additional need for bereavement.
Okay.
So the way that,
Is that still leaving in, however, additional time should be needed, please see Article 8?
yeah, we could leave that in if you want.
Yeah, because some people may not have sick time.
Yeah, yeah.
All right, so we understand. Thank you for the counter.
Okay. So in concept, we're allowing people to have 6 days of bereavement leave beyond their sick leave, and then they can use sick leave, and if they don't have sick leave, then they can go to leave of absence.
Can you say it slower so I can write it down?
Sure. So in concept, we're allowing an employee to have 6 days of bereavement leave each fiscal year. And then if they use all 6 and they have another need for bereavement, they could go to their sick leave. And then,
Language again, though? Could you read that one more time?
okay, sure. I know I sometimes speak fast. Sick leave cannot be used in conjunction with the use of bereavement leave. In the event an employee uses the 6 days of bereavement leave allowed by Section 1, they then may seek sick leave for any additional need for time off for bereavement purposes.
Instead of seek, can we use use, the word use?
Use, yeah. And then, well, seek, yeah. Although, I don't know, how does sick leave require approval? Do you have to come in and? I mean, we still have to go through that process of sick leave.
Put on an exception form.
Yeah. But that's, as long as we all understand that you have to go through the sick leave process.
Right, so after sick leave, you should, after bereavement leave, you automatically go into your sick leave if you have any time off.
For bereavement purposes, yeah. And then we can add, however, should.
That word would even be better.
Hmm?
That word would probably be actually better. After exhausting your bereavement leave of 6 days, you automatically use your sick time for the rest of your bereavement time.
Well, I don't know if I'd say automatically. I mean, there may be some people who wouldn't want to use their sick leave for bereavement. They might want to go right to 8.
Okay.
So, well, but that's the concept. We'll work on the language.
Okay. Thank you.
Sure. And that's kind of all we have, besides what we've given you already today.
So, did you think of anything about 45? Did y'all have any?
Yeah, I'm going to have to, I have to have another discussion with my team on 45 before I can
Okay.
respond.
And so the ones we want to put out here just for either discussion today or something to try to close out the next time would be paydays, Article 14, which we should be able to get through that. Military leave, Article 9. Sick bank leave sick leave bank, 21.
No, not sick leave, sick leave. Sick leave bank is 54.
54, okay, I apologize, I wrote the wrong thing out. I got you. And group health, we were waiting for you to get back with us, but I think we were close on that. It was just about the language on indemnification.
Oh, felonious assault.
Felonious assault, okay.
They had to verify the number.
All right, so we should be able to close that out if y'all have that information as well.
Which article was that? Sorry, I can't remember that. 20?
20.
Did you?
I think it's the, let me look at it.
So a couple of more that we think we should be able
Yeah,
to
we pay for that.
do like we did today, just kind of knock them out pretty
Yes,
quick.
that is. You can ask Mark. I'll check with Mark, yes.
Yeah, I remember having that conversation with Mark.
So I think I can speak to 14.
Okay.
I believe in your proposal, you included a section requiring the county to pay for CDL renewals. And that was something we couldn't agree to.
Okay, days.
Can you tell me why?
Because that would be the responsibility of the individual.
It's a requirement of the job.
I'd have to defer to management for that.
Yeah, this is the transit part, so this is not a typical county employee. It's just like Janice said, if you wanted to have tuition reimbursement, well, you can't go nowhere else to get
Which article?
You can't learn how to drive no more than having a CDL. So, in our transit world, I understand they're county employees, but in our transit world, it's a requirement to have a CDL by law. Because of the type of vehicle, 14, yes, because of the type of vehicle and the amount of passengers you have. So, for us, I understand your point is that it's our responsibility to be able to get it, but it should be the employer's responsibility because it's a requirement by law. And I don't know of a contract that I have in transit that doesn't have that, to be honest with you.
I don't know of a contract that we have that where the jobs require CDL that we have that will pay for it.
You don't have transit except for us.
Yes, but we have other positions that require CDLs, and they're required for their job.
Okay, but you're taking over, you contracted out something for 75 years, you're bringing it in-house, so you're telling us, for 75 years, we've had that, and now all of a sudden, you want us to do away with it.
Correct.
Okay. You got a big wish list.
So I guess we would just reassert the proposal that we provided to you on the 5th of June, Section 1. Rather than what was stated here, it was revised to state employees will be paid every 14 days as directed by the Office of the Clerk of Court. That's consistent with what's in all of our other labor agreements. Then Section 2, we deleted Section 2, and Section 3 was revised to reflect the current practice, which is all paychecks are deposited directly. And that was instructions from the clerk's office. We deleted Section 4 and 5.
Okay.
Article 9, I believe was another one that you had mentioned.
Military.
We had combined all of the leaves into a single article, Article 8. Because there were several miscellaneous leave provisions, and so that was just a means to be,
Concise.
Just kind
yes.
of condense.
So that was our,
See it?
I left my book in there.
and the same is true for jury, Article 16, jury pay. That was combined. All of the leave provisions were put into 8.
Yeah, and Mike's showing me that our hang-up was the last sentence of the first of Section 1, where it says the county classified employees as outlined in the Human Resources Department Policies and Procedures Manual.
You're looking at 8?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, one second.
So is that saying all leaves fall under the county HR department policies and procedures? Is that what you're saying?
1 second. Except as otherwise specified in this agreement, all bargaining unit members shall be eligible to receive the same leave benefits that are available to other county classified employees. Yes. So, for example, bereavement leave, which we've been discussing, would be an exception to what is offered to other county employees.
And what county employees get, they accrue sick leave and annual leave, and the annual leave is like their vacation leave. They can use it for vacation
anything.
purposes, for anything, whereas sick leave is.
In 2-hour
is
increments?
simply for what?
In 2-hour increments?
It depends on years of service. It changes. So
So-
sick leave is eight hours per month regardless. But how much your accrual rate for annual leave changes based off your years of service.
And
So-
annual leave is a separate provision in here as well.
Correct.
Okay.
So can I just get a clarifying question? So are you saying that we would be able to use all our leave in 2-hour increments too? That would be interesting to us.
Don't, Tanya, stay out of this.
Unless.
This is county employees. Stay out of this, Tanya.
If you're saying we're willing to use it in 2-hour increments, we might have a discussion here.
A leave in 2-hour increments?
Yeah, the employees could do what county workers do.
Well,
Like,
Tanya, stay out of this.
I know equipment operators often go to work, they work a half a day, they go to their supervisor and they say, hey, I'm gonna use my annual leave, and they say, go ahead, take off. And they take off the rest of the day.
Tanya, we understand, Tanya. Don't say nothing. We good.
So, We don't preclude you from requesting it. The contract wouldn't preclude them from requesting it, but it's always at the decision of the management to approve annual leave.
So we will never get it.
Not necessarily. I mean, if
Oh,
it wasn't an
yes.
operational burden, I mean, normally you would try to pre-schedule it. That's the whole point of annual leave.
Well, that's not a practice in the county, though. I know what the county
It's
workers do
not,
all the
it's not.
time.
We've got sick
We
leave.
do have provisions in the county that say that you should.
I speak to
Reschedule
I
it.
speak to the county workers. They tell me what happens all the time with their crews. They tell me what happens.
But it's up to their supervisor.
Yeah,
Correct,
supervisors
that's
say,
my
sure,
point.
go submit the paperwork, you're good. See you later.
So the way that 8 is drafted, it states that unless otherwise specified in the agreement, sick leave is a separate provision, annual leave is a separate provision, or vacation, I guess is what it was called. So is bereavement. Those are separate. And anything else that's not otherwise specified in the agreement would then defer to the county's policy.
The only problem we have with that is transit is not a county employee's day-to-day. We have totally different jobs. The requirements for the day-to-day business of me being behind a wheel and a county employee being in the office or even being out in the field, you can do away without them. Really, to be honest with you, I ain't trying to be funny, but I don't know one, but all the positions you have, but I know when I had the county workers, if one guy don't come in, it ain't stopping the show. A bus driver don't come to work, it stops the show. It's just not apples and apples. That's what I'm trying to tell you.
Well, I mean, I have a jail that has officers that I would say are similar.
Right, but they're critical, and yeah, they're critical.
Yes, they are.
employees. Yeah.
I mean, and,
Responders, we have-
yeah, I mean, we also have
You could do without
fire.
a first responder not coming to work, you know, I mean, that's,
Hey,
you
one.
can't do with a
Shut
couple
down
of them.
ambulances
You
if we don't
can't, you
have
can't,
enough
you can't
EMTs.
deal with a lot of them out of work, but you
Right.
can deal with one or two of them out of work.
It depends, to be honest with you.
I'm not here to debate that, I'm not here to debate that,
Go
what
on
my
Facebook.
point is
Apparently.
that it's not necessarily the same. So when Mike brought up the part about 2 hours, you know, Tanya and her team is just not gonna give
But
somebody
that's the
2 hours.
beauty of the county. No two jobs are really the same. There's a bunch of, we literally are over a bunch of different subsets of jobs. Because the county has 28 departments? Did I make that number? We have a lot of departments that do all kinds of things. So you are correct, but that's true for every county employee just about. No two departments are really the same. My department doesn't do anything.
Right, but we can do
But
without
you're trying to
people
line
work.
up your labor agreements in the same line when you had
They're not the
totally
same.
different, yeah, that doesn't make sense.
Not with everything. We understand there's still specialized specifics that go to each thing, but for consistency's sake, it is cleaner and better if you can keep things as consistent as possible, except for in the situations where it needed to be.
Why would it make a difference operational-wise, what happens in a different department? It doesn't.
For what? Okay, what do you mean? What part of the difference? Are you talking about the leave specifically?
Yeah.
Lorraine, would you like to
Really?
weigh in on what it's like to have 28 different ways to calculate leave and pay and?
Crazy. But, it's all different. We have to take each department differently. We're fixing to go through Chronos, updating Chronos, and it's gonna be. department by
I would just
department.
like to say.
Well,
Just so folks that don't understand can understand, that I'm not sure as far as the 2 hours, as far as the rest of the county. However, just in transit, we have to have an expectation that there's a person on that bus, driving that bus, at any given time they're on the route. So if folks have the ability to take 2 hours here, 2 hours there, I don't have that consistency to ensure that we have an operator behind that wheel.
We
So-
agree.
Yeah, we agree.
So,
Yeah, I know, they're making the point that they're not the same as the county. We get it.
no,
I
I'm
understand-
speaking just reference.
I know what you're saying. That's
reference
what
to
they're
the-
making the point about asking for the 2 hours, because they know that operationally speaking, that would be a nightmare for you, and we wouldn't be able to allow it. Their point is that other departments allow 2 hours here, 2 hours there. But they don't really. It depends. It's up to the discretion of the management, and they have to consider the operational
So
burden,
the-
whether or
so-
not it would create
So to
one.
finish off my point, she has no discretion, that's what she's trying to tell you. If I'm the bus operator and I'm on my route, and I'm in between my route, and I need my 2 hours, I need my 2 hours at 3 o'clock in the middle of my route, how is she gonna get the rest of my route filled?
We're almost,
So if I'm a county employee, and I can be in another department, just about any other one of them, except the more critical ones, the jail, or one or two other ones, the ambulance, they can give me my 2 hours. I can just stop where I am, drive back in, and my 2 hours is no problem. So the point I'm not making is not about specifically that issue of 2 hours. We are different in a number of ways. That you are trying to group us into what normal practices for county employees are, whether it's leave, whether it's pay, whether it's this, whether it's that. There are some differences in our industry. You're looking at them from a perspective of a county, and we're looking at it from a perspective of an industry as well as the county.
Yes, but there are certain things that you could, industry standard-wise, be standardized. People are different. I understand what you're saying, but I'm saying you can't just say that for everything. We're trying to, you're right, trying to bring in mass transit along with the county. And so every time we say, well, that's how we do it in another county, y'all can't take it personally and say that it's because y'all are specialized.
That decision should have been thought about when they decided to bring them in-house.
Take them out from transit authority.
Right? They've been outsourced for a reason for 75
Who at this
years.
table was part of that decision?
No one, and it was my
Guess what?
understanding that the union was part of
No disrespect.
initiating
What I've
that.
always been told is, guess what? The county is the county, the city is the city, the company is the company. So no matter who makes what decision, it's on your plate now. But the decision was made by your commissioners.
To take
It's
it
the
out
same
from transit
commissioners?
authority.
So I'm not being disrespectful. I don't want you to take it that way. But the truth of the matter is, you still work for the same county. The decision made doesn't make a difference. It's in your plate. But the decision should have been thought about prior to, right?
I think they did think about it, but I don't think that they
I don't
thought
think we
this
can
would be
say-
such a point of contention. They have
Well,
no way of
so-
understanding that.
So a lot of what you're doing, I'm gonna stop my soap opera. A lot of what you're doing by doing that is taking away our effectiveness to effectively bargain. Because the only thing you're saying is I'm rejecting everything because I want it this way. Not everything, but the
Let's see,
majority.
we just TA'd like 5, 6.
All right, well,
A lot of that stuff we're TAing is not important to our members on a day-to-day.
Yeah,
The stuff that's
leave would be
important to our
very
many-
important.
Stuff that's important to our members
We
on
know
a
leave is
day-to-day.
important there. We had people out for 762 hours on leave. That is absolutely, from an operational standpoint, that is
Look.
not okay.
So guess what? Here, and I gotta say this, because you keep making those comments and it's starting to wear on me.
Well, they're true, they're factual.
Yeah, but it's not the majority of the people that drive and work over there. Okay, well, then put it in front of me. When you put the spreadsheets in front of me, saying I got 102 workers and 60 of them are doing this, then that's a problem.
So let me give you an
Slide it
example.
on over.
Wait.
Hold on, let me give you an example. You asked for it, correct?
Well,
Let me
no,
give you
I
an
can
example.
also say
Then
something.
do it.
Let me give you one example. You just asked the question, correct? All right.
I made a
So
statement, not
when, in April, when the government approved and it went into effect for the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, that you could take emergency paid sick leave. Okay.
Talking
I'm
about a
getting there. Hey,
pandemic.
I'm getting there in terms of what happened, okay? So
Talk
this
about a
just is gonna-
pandemic though, come on.
Okay, this is an example. ECAT makes up less than 1% of the total employee populace that exists in the county. And within the first month of that being ratified, they were 68% of the utilization rate for that leave. That's a pattern behavior that doesn't matter what kind of
Talking
leave
about,
it is.
one, a pandemic, and
Yeah.
two, you're talking about issues that the union brought to you prior to all of that.
It wasn't because of that. People just took it because they wanted to.
No, wait,
But
no,
not
wait.
everybody, you're correct.
They also took it
Some
during
might
a
have.
pandemic when they was trying to make sure that they was safe.
I'd like
You
to
can't
add to
bring
what
that
you just
a
said. because-
pandemic situation into it and say, oh,
wasn't to make
since
sure they
April,
were
since this,
safe.
do it before April.
Jenna.
Tell me what it was.
Jenna, when you make that statement, I hear the numbers, but you don't want to hear the rest of the story. The rest of the story, the rest of the
point is,
story.
it doesn't
wait,
matter.
no,
Y'all have so many people that have been
So,
out
wait.
on leave for so long.
So
It does make a difference. It's
can I
being
speak to-
recorded, and it makes a difference that he has an opportunity.
Can I have
to
a speak?
It does.
So let's just add to this. You're also talking about a workforce that had direct dealings with the public on a daily basis that did not have the protective, no, you can't compare yourself to them.
First responders.
You don't see 100 to 200 to 300 people a day walking
First
through that bus.
responders, corrections, they do.
No,
I
okay,
mean-
so you don't get, if I'm a first responder,
Then you
I
should-
can.
you should give them the same
I give them the
opportunity we-
total respect, but they can keep a distance. When you you smile, but when you have passengers,
No,
okay, I'm sorry.
some
But,
conversation.
I'm sorry. But when passengers step up onto the bus and they get within a foot of you, and they're breathing on you during a pandemic crisis that no one knew what was going to happen. And we're not getting the response of the county to do the things we need to do to protect those operators in a timely fashion, that we actually have to go to the media to try to press because we're so concerned, because we're learning all over the country, other transit systems are protecting their workers. So workers were fearful. I was in that break room, Jenna. I listened to the workers. I watched when they said to me, Mike, I'm scared to death. Am I going to get sick from this? Okay. We watched hundreds of transit workers die on a daily basis across this country. Now, I know you're not wanting to look me in the eye when I say this.
No, I'm saying, I've looked at some of those statistics too as well.
So
But
my
it's-
point is, I understand that the transit workers utilized the leave during the pandemic crisis. I get it. And I
Even when it's
understand.
not a pandemic crisis, that was my point. It doesn't matter what it is. It's still
It
being
also
utilized and not utilized appropriately.
It also comes down to how you effectively run our bid schedule, which right now it's been manipulated left and right, where historically we had seniority rights and now those seniority rights are gone. You have senior people that has spent 30-plus years working at the transit system, but because your operations manager has manipulated the bid, those individuals are having to work on Saturdays now, after serving 30-plus years in this county. And that's not because of the pandemic crisis. It's because he's manipulated the schedule.
What's wrong with working on Saturday? Sorry, I'm missing the,
You want to work 30 years of your life and then turn around and work on the weekends too?
I mean, I don't know. how
Mike, the
many
only
days a
thing I'm
week
gonna
they
say
work
to
on.
you is, if there's something here that we're not aware of, that you guys are proposing, and it takes numbers, and we need to understand and see it, no more than that.
All right.
We don't have to argue,
No, I'm not going to argue with you.
if it's persuasive argument to change something because it has data behind it,
And I just want to say one last thing, Mike, and I'll stop. Ms. Stills made a couple comments today. I almost, when we did the wage thing, she said the union didn't accept it. She made a point of saying that. Listen, this is negotiations, okay? There are reasons on our side why we didn't accept your proposal. But to sit there and make an accusation it's because you didn't accept the proposal on wages, listen, it doesn't take away the fact that those employees won't receive their raise, and they do deserve a raise. They really deserved us to sit in a room and work this out as management and as the union, and not just sit there and pass paperwork back and forth. We've given you guys 5, 6 proposals, and you've given us the same one every time on wages. We're trying to find a way to reach an agreement on wages. They're the only employees that didn't get a raise, and they deserve a raise.
But we explicitly told you that we would take that outside of the contract. You could sign off on the MOU, they would get the 3%, and we would continue to negotiate wages. So that point
but
is no
you
longer
didn't
valid.
negotiate the changes in the MOU we had problems with. So
Because we weren't going to apply it to the base rate. That's not what it was meant to do.
that wasn't,
So that's my
We
point.
still didn't answer
It's
the-
still factual.
Still doesn't answer the question.
All right, well, okay.
I think you had asked about Article 20.
yes.
I'm looking at what you proposed on the 5th of June and what we proposed, and I think there are some significant differences, but maybe we can just talk through that.
Okay.
Yours appears to have included our first sentence, which outlines what benefits all county employees receive. We're good with that. Health, AD&D, long-term disability, short-term disability, life insurance, dental and vision, 2 bargaining unit members at the same levels of coverage and cost as provided to other county employees. Your proposal added a line, short-term disability will be provided to all transit workers. We can't accept that.
Okay.
The next, there's a note under that in your proposal. The union does not waive its right to demand negotiations on the insurance policies regarding the provider's plans, premiums, deductibles, and copays. I think we've discussed that before. We can't accept that provision. Section 2, we proposed 1 representative to serve on the Employee Benefits Committee, and that is our standing proposal. Section 3, the felonious assault bond, I believe what is currently provided is $100,000?
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. And you had also proposed a separate provision that stated that employees would receive a minimum of $40,000 in life insurance, but that's actually already covered in Section 1 because all receive $40,000 in life insurance coverage. Isn't that true, Jana?
Yep.
Okay. That is our Article 20.
We're pretty close.
So we're not off that far then.
No, we're not that far.
So we
Right.
probably.
When we take a
can-
caucus, we.
Right.
Yeah, we probably
And we
can talk through
can,
that today.
if we take a caucus, discuss the sick leave bank. I didn't want you to think that we had deleted that provision. We had simply rolled it into Article 21, which I believe is the sick leave provision. So I don't think we were all that far apart, other than what we stated was that the county would maintain the sick leave bank, and I think there was a little bit of difference in the language because in your proposal, it looked like even though the county was to retain the records of the usage and so forth, that the union would be in charge of the sick leave bank.
That's what
So-
we've been doing.
Okay, I think we can probably discuss that, but let us talk about it.
Okay.
All right, so let's take a caucus.
Yeah, because that's two of
Let's be
them.
back at, it's 2 o'clock, let's be back at 2:30.
Sounds good.
That sounds good. Thank you.
That works.
You were going to look at group health. We're, on the sick leave bank language, we're good except for the last sentence in section 1. It says the county agrees to maintain the SLB balance. We don't have a problem with that. We don't want to provide a monthly report. We could do it upon request. And then the second, you have a second part of that that says the mass transit director designee may serve in an advisory role if requested by the bargaining unit, but he or she will not participate in any determination of time granted or denied from SLB, which is fine. We understand what that means. That means that if the SLB decides to let somebody use sick leave bank time or not, that's your choice, because we're agreeing to language that says the SLB program will be solely managed by bargaining unit members. We get that. We think this last sentence is unnecessary, because we do say that it'll be solely managed by bargaining unit members. We're concerned that that last sentence might be confused by some who would think that somebody, when they get a grant of sick leave bank by the bargaining unit members, that they're automatically then entitled to sick leave, which is not how that process works. So anyway, that's where we are in sick leave bank.
Okay, that's good. We appreciate the movement on it.
Good.
All right, you understood that, everybody? Mike? Understood it? Okay. For us, we went over bereavement. We'd like to offer this.
Okay.
6 days we will accept.
Okay,
We'd like to have this language incorporated if possible.
okay,
In the event an employee uses the sick days of bereavement leave allowed by Section 1, but experiences death rendering the employee's eligibility for additional bereavement leave, the employee may take additional bereavement leave, with such leave being charged to the employee's sick leave bank, or if none available, vacation leave bank.
okay, well, we'll take that up. We'll consider that.
So, yeah, but
Got it? We understand.
and then on 20, which is group health,
Uh-huh,
Section 2,
okay,
we agree on one representative,
okay,
and we'd like to add to the end of this sentence, which shall meet at least once prior to the county's acceptance of any renewal. And I believe that our only issue is, we used to be, well, since this this most current renewal, nobody was brought in to sit down and go over it like we did during the prior. So we would just like to incorporate.
The committee.
The committee.
Yeah, correct. I meant clarification about any renewal. So you're saying, like, any plan renewal, or are you talking about any renewal? So like, we just did a renewal for our EAP. we did a renewal for, we're gonna have to go out and, well, we normally would do a renewal for our insurance broker. There's a lot of renewals that we, I can't say that word over and over, that we do. So are you just specifically speaking to the plan changes that, before open enrollment?
Well, I would think it would be section 1, right? But we would like to be part of the committee about any changes that's going to affect us, right? I mean, that only makes, you don't bring in the full committee when you're doing any of your renewal contracts?
Not most of them. The only time it's for the health, for the most part, if it's when the plan changes for the health, like if we're gonna be changing, we're discussing like changing premiums, increasing premiums or increasing out-of-pockets and stuff like that. Normally, that's what we try to do.
So we usually just bring people in for group health.
Right, whatever the normal practice has been.
Health insurance.
Right, whatever the normal practice has been for the county is what, and I think it's spelled out in section 1.
I got it.
Okay.
I understand.
Okay.
What else on group insurance?
That's it.
Okay.
Yeah, we're trying to get to it and.
Oh, no, you forgot the
Ah.
100,000.
Oh, and the verbiage
Way to
though.
deal.
No, but the verbiage that the 100,000 is part of the language, right?
100,000.
The felonious assault, that the county will offer $100,000 in felonious.
Yeah, that's what they have.
And we'll strike out our last one.
And then we'll, well, yeah, they already struck number 4, but
Right, but
we'll,
they're saying
we'll
we'll-
agree to take out number 4.
All right, great.
Okay.
We think that that's,
All right, good. So that's something else I think that we can draft up,
right,
and then we'll bring back and TA next time we meet.
okay.
Okay.
No, we
And,
appreciate it. Today has been a very good session, so I appreciate it. We're worth coming in town.
Good, I'm glad. Yeah, I think we got, it's one of our more productive days.
Yes, I appreciate it.
All right, everybody. Thank you very much. We'll get to work on these things. We'll try to share them with you beforehand so you can look them over.
If you want, if she sends them over to us, we can sign them and have them ready
Got it.
when we get here. And if there's any verbiage corrections, then we can always send an email back.
Perfect.
So when we get here, we can be more productive.
Perfect.
Okay. Works for us. Thank you.
And we'll start working on those other things we talked about today, and I know it's a lot for us to look at, it's a lot for you to
And
look
we'll work on those 3, which are big items to us.
at. Yeah. Understand.
All right, we'll have safe travels back home,
Should we
Mike.
talk about
All right,
dates?
thank you, Curtis.
I can't talk about dates now because it'll probably be in December, because in January. I'm off in
Right, no,
December.
I know that. I don't think,
And
I
I don't
don't
have-
think you're gonna get that side to
and
move
I don't
on
have-
December either.
No, but I'm exercising Lorraine, you're right, but you know what I'm getting ready to say, Lorraine.
You just called it.
Exercising my, use it or lose it. And I don't want to lose it.
Wait, Gilly wasn't even here. We're gonna play that back for her.
Yeah, but if you would have said it, we would have been off the chain. Lorraine,